Life does not test us in the grand moments as often as it does in the quiet, ordinary ones. A sharp word from a friend, a delay in traffic, an unexpected challenge at work. These small sparks often ignite storms inside us. Yet those who master their emotions do not get lost in these storms. They hold steady, they breathe, they respond with strength instead of reaction. This is the power of emotional intelligence. It is the ability to remain balanced when everything around you pulls for imbalance. In this journey, you will discover how to master your emotions in everyday life, how to find calm in chaos, and how to build a presence that cannot be shaken. Stay with me until the end, and remember to subscribe, because what you are about to learn can reshape not just the way you feel, but the way you live. Chapter 1. The Silent Power Within. Every person carries two worlds inside them. One is the outer world, filled with responsibilities, relationships, noise, and endless demands. The other is the inner world, where feelings rise and fall like tides, where joy and anger wrestle for space, where calm and chaos meet in silence. Most people spend their lives reacting to the outer world while ignoring the inner one. They rush, they argue, they defend, they collapse. But true strength comes from mastering the inner world. Emotional intelligence begins here, with the realization that what happens inside you shapes everything outside you. The silent power within you is always present. It is the pause before reaction, the breath before words, the moment where you choose direction instead of being carried away. Most people miss it. They rush past it, letting anger spill out, letting fear tighten their voice, letting insecurity dictate their choices. But those who learn to notice it, those who slow down enough to hear that silence, begin to discover freedom. They realize they are not prisoners of their emotions, they are leaders of them. Balance is not the absence of emotion, it is the harmony of it. To feel deeply is human. To be controlled by those feelings is weakness. Emotional intelligence does not demand that you stop feeling anger, sadness, or fear. It teaches you how to feel without drowning, how to express without destroying, how to hold emotions in your hands without letting them slip into chaos. This is balance, not cold detachment, but steady presence. The journey begins with awareness. You cannot master what you refuse to see. Every emotion leaves signals in the body. The heart beats faster, the breath shortens, the muscles tense. These are not random reactions, they are invitations, reminders that something important is stirring inside you. Most ignore them, labeling them only as discomfort. But the emotionally intelligent person sees them as signals. They pause, they breathe, they ask, not with words but with presence. What is this emotion trying to show me? Awareness is not always comfortable. It will show you fears you have hidden, insecurities you deny, frustrations you disguise. But facing them is the first step to freedom. Suppressed emotions do not disappear. They wait. They leak out in anger at strangers, in impatience with loved ones, in quiet exhaustion at the end of the day. Emotional balance is not built on denial. It is built on honesty, the courage to face what is happening inside, and the wisdom to respond instead of react. The power of emotional intelligence lies in choice. Every emotion offers a reaction, but you decide whether to accept it. When anger tells you to lash out, you can choose patience. When fear tells you to shrink, you can choose courage. When sadness tells you to withdraw, you can choose connection. This choice is not easy, but it is always there. Each time you choose wisely, your inner strength grows. Each time you prove to yourself that you can guide your emotions, confidence builds, and your balance deepens. Imagine carrying a calm center no matter what storm swirls around you. Traffic does not steal your peace. A harsh word does not break your strength. A sudden challenge does not throw you into panic. Instead, you remain steady. Not because life is easy, but because you are steady inside. This is not fantasy. This is the practice of emotional intelligence, and with time, it becomes identity. But balance is not a single act. It is a way of living. It is shaped through repetition, through returning to calm again and again until calm becomes your natural state. At first, you must remind yourself, pause deliberately, breathe intentionally. Over time, the body learns, the mind remembers, the emotions flow differently. The storm outside still comes, but the storm inside no longer rules you. You have become the anchor. This is the silent power within. It does not shout. It does not boast. It does not need to prove itself. But it changes everything. It changes the way you speak, the way you listen, the way you live. Emotional intelligence does not make life easier. It makes you stronger. It does not remove the challenges. It makes you greater than them. And as this journey begins, remember this: the voice you master inside will decide the life you create outside. Balance is not an achievement you visit once. It is a path you walk every day. The next step is learning how to walk that path consistently, building strength, not in rare moments but in the rhythm of daily life. Chapter 2. Awareness. The first step to balance. Emotional intelligence does not begin with control. It begins with awareness. You cannot guide what you do not notice. You cannot master what you do not first acknowledge. Most people stumble through life carried by emotions they never stop to examine. They feel anger and assume it is justified. They feel sadness and assume it is weakness. They feel fear and assume it means retreat. But awareness breaks this cycle. Awareness lifts the curtain. It allows you to see emotions not as dictators but as signals. Awareness is the light in the dark room of reaction. Without it, every feeling overwhelms. With it, every feeling reveals truth. The emotionally intelligent person does not run from emotions. They observe them. They watch the rising tide of frustration and notice the tightening of the chest. They feel the weight of sadness and notice the slowing of breath. They sense the heat of anger and notice the clenched jaw. This simple act of noticing creates distance between you and the emotion. It gives you space to decide. Most people confuse awareness with judgment. They notice anger and immediately label themselves wrong. They notice fear and call themselves weak. But awareness is not about condemnation. It is about curiosity. It is about observing what is, without rushing to conclusions. The confident, balanced individual can say, "I feel fear, but fear is not all of me. I feel anger, but anger is not my master." Awareness is the separation between the self and the storm. Awareness also extends to triggers. Each person carries wounds, memories, insecurities that lie hidden until touched. A single word can awaken years of pain. A single look can ignite a storm of insecurity. Without awareness, these triggers control you. With awareness, you begin to recognize them. You see the pattern. You notice how certain situations always spark the same reaction. Instead of drowning, you begin to prepare. You learn that your emotions are not random. They are responses to old stories, and those stories can be rewritten. This awareness is not only inward. Emotional intelligence requires outward awareness as well. To balance your emotions in everyday life, you must sense the emotions of others. Human beings are constantly broadcasting feelings through tone, expression, posture, silence. The emotionally intelligent person reads these signals. They notice the hesitation behind a friend's smile, the weariness in a colleague's eyes, the tension in a partner's voice. This awareness builds empathy, and empathy builds balance, because when you see others clearly, you respond more wisely. Awareness also prevents escalation. A small frustration left unnoticed becomes rage. A quiet insecurity left unchecked becomes despair. But when you notice emotions early, you address them before they grow. You take a breath, you step aside, you speak gently to yourself, you shift the energy before it becomes destructive. Awareness is like seeing smoke before the fire. It gives you the chance to act before the flames consume you. The practice of awareness transforms ordinary moments. Waiting in traffic, you notice impatience rising. Instead of gripping the wheel tighter, you breathe. Standing in line, you notice irritation with delay. Instead of snapping, you let stillness guide you. Hearing criticism, you notice defensiveness. Instead of attacking back, you pause. These small choices add up. Over time, they build a life where balance is not rare, but normal. Awareness must be trained. In the beginning, you will miss it. You will only realize after the outburst, after the regret, after the silence. But with repetition, awareness grows sharper. You begin to catch emotions earlier, to sense the shift before it explodes. This is progress. Each step strengthens you. Each moment of awareness weakens the grip of old patterns. Awareness is freedom because it returns choice. Without it, you are a prisoner of reaction. With it, you are a leader of response. This is why awareness is the first step. It is the foundation on which all other skills are built. Without it, no technique will last. With it, every technique becomes possible. And once awareness is steady, once you can see emotions clearly without drowning in them, you are ready for the next step. You are ready to learn how to regulate those emotions, to transform awareness into action, to turn storms into strength. Chapter 3. Regulating the storm. Awareness opens the door, but regulation is what allows you to walk through it. To notice your emotions is powerful, but without the skill to guide them, awareness can feel overwhelming. Many people know when they are angry, anxious, or sad, but they still lose control. They slam doors, raise voices, withdraw into silence. Awareness without regulation is like seeing the storm without knowing how to sail through it. Emotional intelligence requires more. It requires the ability to regulate the storm, to hold steady when waves rise, to guide emotions without suppressing them. Regulation is not suppression. Suppression is pushing emotions down, pretending they do not exist, forcing a smile while the storm rages inside. But suppressed emotions always return, often stronger and sharper. Regulation is different. Regulation is the skill of directing emotions so that they serve you instead of sabotage you. It is the ability to feel deeply without being ruled by those feelings. The first step in regulation is the pause. Between emotion and reaction lies a gap, small but vital. Most people skip it. They feel and immediately act. They hear a sharp word and instantly retaliate. They feel fear and instantly retreat. But those who practice regulation widen the gap. They pause, they breathe, they allow the heat of the moment to cool enough for choice to return. The pause is not weakness. It is strength. It is the moment where you reclaim control. Breath is the anchor of regulation. When emotions rise, the body reacts first. The heart races, the breath shortens, the muscles tense. If you try to control the mind while the body is in panic, the storm only grows. But when you slow the breath, the body follows. The heart steadies, the muscles release. The storm weakens. The confident person uses breath like a tool, inhaling deeply, exhaling slowly, riding the rhythm until calm returns. Breath is not only air, it is balance entering the body. Regulation also requires reframing. The way you interpret events shapes the way you feel. Two people may face the same challenge, but one sees it as a threat and crumbles, while the other sees it as an opportunity and grows stronger. The event is the same. The story is different. By choosing the story, you regulate the emotion. Instead of telling yourself, "This failure proves I am not enough," you say, "This failure teaches me how to rise." Instead of saying, "They disrespected me," you say, "They revealed their own struggle." Reframing does not deny reality. It gives you the power to shape meaning, and meaning shapes emotion. Another key to regulation is release. Emotions, if trapped, become poison. Regulation does not mean holding them forever. It means releasing them in ways that build, not break. a conversation spoken calmly instead of shouted, a walk taken in silence instead of slamming a door, a journal filled with words instead of words thrown like weapons. Release is necessary. Without it, emotions rot inside. With it, emotions clear, leaving space for peace. Regulation also requires self-talk. The voice inside is often the loudest voice we hear. When it criticizes, emotions darken. When it encourages, emotions steady. Many people feed their storms with harsh inner words. They tell themselves they are failures, weak, hopeless, and the storm obeys. But when you learn to speak to yourself with strength, calm, steady, supportive, you regulate the storm before it rises too high. Self-talk is not empty affirmation. It is training. It is teaching the mind to guide the heart instead of fueling the chaos. Resilience grows from repeated regulation. The first time you pause, it may feel forced. The first time you reframe, it may feel unnatural. But with practice, these responses become habits. The storms still come, but you navigate them with greater ease. Each time you regulate, you prove to yourself that you are not a prisoner of emotion. Each time you return to balance, your foundation grows stronger. Regulation does not mean perfection. Even the strongest lose control at times, but regulation means recovery. It means the storm may knock you down, but you rise faster. The anger may flare, but it burns shorter. The sadness may weigh heavy, but it lifts sooner. Regulation gives you agility, the ability to return to balance without being trapped in chaos. And this skill does not only protect you, it protects others. When you regulate your emotions, you stop passing storms to those around you. You stop shouting words that scar. You stop spreading stress like wildfire. Instead, you bring calm. You bring steadiness. You bring safety. People around you feel it. They begin to trust your presence because they know it will not turn violent, unpredictable, or unstable. Regulation transforms not only your life, but the lives of everyone near you. Over time, regulation changes your identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone carried by moods. You begin to see yourself as steady, as reliable, as calm. This identity strengthens confidence. It tells you, no matter what happens, I can handle it. And that belief becomes a shield, turning fear into courage, turning doubt into faith, turning chaos into clarity. Regulating the storm is not about avoiding life's challenges. It is about meeting them with mastery. It is about proving to yourself that your inner world is stronger than the outer one. And once you learn to regulate emotions, once you can calm the storm within, you are ready for the next level. You are ready to not only balance yourself, but to connect with others on a deeper level, to understand them, to share emotional intelligence in relationships that last. Chapter 4: The Language of Empathy. Emotional intelligence does not stop at self-awareness or regulation. Those are the foundations, the inner tools that allow you to remain steady in your own storms. But emotional balance in everyday life demands something more. It requires the ability to step outside yourself, to feel the emotions of others, to recognize their storms and not only your own. This is the language of empathy, and without it, confidence becomes cold, leadership becomes harsh, and connection becomes impossible. Empathy is the bridge between your inner balance and the hearts of those around you. Empathy is not simply feeling what others feel. It is the capacity to recognize their state, to honor their reality, and to connect without judgment. When a friend speaks in a trembling voice, empathy does not rush to fix their words or silence their tears. It listens. It enters their world without demanding they leave it. Empathy says, I see you, I hear you, I feel you. That recognition is sometimes more powerful than any solution. People may forget what you say, but they never forget how it felt to be seen. The language of empathy begins with presence. Too often people listen with distracted minds, waiting for their turn to speak, rehearsing replies while the other person is still talking. But empathy requires full attention. It demands that you pause your inner dialogue and surrender to the moment. You look into their eyes, you notice their tone, you read the spaces between their words. Presence is rare, and because it is rare, it heals. In a world where everyone fights to be heard, the person who truly listens becomes unforgettable. To practice empathy, you must also silence judgment. The mind is quick to label right or wrong, strong or weak, success or failure. But empathy does not label. Empathy allows space. When someone struggles, empathy does not dismiss them as weak. It recognizes the weight they carry. When someone reacts with anger, empathy does not condemn them as cruel. It seeks to understand the wound beneath. Every emotion has a root. Empathy digs deeper, not to excuse behavior, but to understand it. Understanding opens the door to compassion, and compassion transforms relationships. Empathy also means learning to read beyond words. Words can lie, smiles can hide, masks can cover pain. But the emotionally intelligent person looks beyond. They notice how shoulders slump, even while lips insist everything is fine. They hear the slight tremor behind laughter. They feel the tension in silence. These signals reveal truth, and empathy receives them gently. It does not force exposure but quietly acknowledges what is already there. Sometimes a soft presence, a nod, or a patient pause communicates more than questions ever could. The language of empathy is not passive, it is active. It requires you to step into the shoes of another, to imagine their reality, to sense their struggles as if they were your own. When you do this, you respond differently. Instead of harsh correction, you offer guidance. Instead of empty advice, you share support. Instead of reacting with impatience, you move with compassion. The emotionally balanced person does not carry only their own peace, they extend it to others. Empathy deepens connection. Relationships without empathy remain shallow. They may function, they may exchange words, but they lack intimacy. When empathy flows, trust grows. People feel safe to reveal, to share, to open. They know they will not be mocked or dismissed. They know they will be understood. Trust born of empathy is the strongest foundation for any bond, friendship, love, family, or leadership. It is what makes communication not only effective, but meaningful. Empathy also regulates conflict. In the heat of argument, people defend positions, raise voices, and dig deeper into division. But empathy softens the ground. It allows you to see not only what someone is saying, but why they are saying it. It shifts focus from winning to understanding. When two people meet in empathy, walls lower and solutions appear. The conflict becomes not about defeating each other, but about finding balance together. The language of empathy is powerful because it transforms leadership. A leader without empathy drives people with fear or force. A leader with empathy inspires people with trust and vision. Employees do not follow orders. They follow presence. They follow the leader who sees them, who recognizes their struggles, who honors their humanity. Empathy does not weaken authority. It strengthens it, because it binds loyalty not through control but through connection. Empathy also transforms the smallest interactions of daily life. The stranger who looks tired in the line, the child who feels unheard at the table, the partner who carries silent frustration, each of them longs to be seen. A few moments of empathy can shift their entire day. It can lift weight, spark courage, bring comfort. Emotional intelligence is not only about great speeches or high-pressure moments. It is about choosing to respond with empathy in the ordinary spaces of life. The more you practice empathy, the more natural it becomes. At first it may feel deliberate, even heavy. But over time your mind and heart begin to align. You no longer have to remind yourself to notice, to listen, to care. You simply do. And when empathy becomes natural, balance expands. You no longer carry only your own peace. You help build peace in others. This is the power of empathy. It transforms relationships. It deepens trust. It strengthens leadership and it heals hearts. But empathy is not the final step. To truly master emotional intelligence, you must go further. Once you see emotions, regulate them, and connect through empathy, you are ready for the next dimension, social awareness. The ability to understand the greater emotional climate around you and to move through it with wisdom. Chapter 5. Reading the Room. Emotional intelligence is not only about understanding yourself and connecting with individuals. It is also about sensing the larger atmosphere around you, the invisible current that moves groups of people, shaping their moods, their energy, their silence. Every room you walk into has an emotional climate. Sometimes it is heavy with tension, sometimes it is light with joy, sometimes it is restless with anticipation. To master emotional balance in everyday life, you must learn to read the room. This is social awareness, the ability to see beyond yourself and even beyond one-on-one relationships, to understand the collective emotions of the spaces you enter. When you walk into a meeting, the air speaks before anyone does. You feel the stiffness of posture, the clipped tone of conversation, the scattered glances. That atmosphere is emotion made collective. Most people ignore it, focusing only on their own role, their own words, but the emotionally intelligent person pays attention. They sense what is happening beneath the surface. They recognize whether the room needs energy or calm, whether it needs encouragement or challenge, whether it needs space or guidance. Reading the room is the skill of listening not only with ears, but with presence. This awareness begins with observation. Eyes notice posture, ears notice rhythm. The heart notices silence. A group carries emotion in its collective body language. When a team is united, their energy feels synchronized, their voices rise and fall together, their bodies lean forward in shared focus. When a group is divided, the energy fractures, silence grows heavy, words stumble without flow. The emotionally intelligent person trains themselves to see these signs quickly, quietly, without judgment. But observation is not enough. Reading the room requires interpretation. What does that silence mean? What does that restless shifting communicate? What does that overeager laughter hide? Interpretation grows from experience. Over time, you begin to recognize patterns. You learn that a group's silence after a question may not be indifference, it may be fear of judgment. You learn that a group's quick agreement may not be true harmony, it may be pressure to conform. You learn that energy can disguise insecurity, and stillness can hide resistance. The room speaks in many languages, and the emotionally intelligent person learns to translate. Once you read the room, the question becomes, how do you respond? Here lies the power of emotional intelligence. Most people react to the room. They mirror its energy, matching irritation with irritation, silence with silence, chaos with chaos. But the balanced person influences the room. They bring calm where there is tension. They bring clarity where there is confusion. They bring warmth where there is coldness. This does not happen through force, but through presence. One steady voice can shift the tone of many. One calm breath can slow the rhythm of a group. One genuine word can open a wall of silence. Reading the room also means respecting its state. Influence is not domination. If the atmosphere is heavy because grief is present, empathy is required, not cheerfulness. If the atmosphere is restless because excitement fills the space, energy is required, not restraint. The emotionally intelligent person does not impose their own mood blindly. They align with the room enough to understand it, then guide it toward balance. Balance is not making every room cheerful, it is making every room true, safe, and steady. This skill extends beyond formal spaces. In families, you sense the quiet tension at the dinner table. In friendships, you notice the subtle withdrawal of someone who feels left out. In daily encounters, you read the mood of strangers, the sigh of exhaustion, the edge of impatience. Each moment offers a choice. Ignore the climate or respond with intelligence. Small acts, a kind word, a steady tone, a patient pause, can shift the energy of a space, sometimes more than grand speeches ever could. Reading the room also requires humility. You cannot assume you always know. Sometimes the atmosphere misleads. What looks like anger may be fatigue. What feels like disinterest may be pain. Humility keeps you open, willing to adjust, willing to ask quietly, willing to listen deeper. The emotionally intelligent person does not rush to conclusions. They move carefully, with patience, with grace, trusting that clarity emerges when presence is consistent. The gift of social awareness is that it transforms your role in any space. You stop being a passive participant and become an anchor. People begin to look to you unconsciously, sensing that your steadiness brings order. They trust your presence even before you speak, because your awareness gives them confidence. This is the subtle influence of emotional intelligence. It does not shout, yet it shapes the atmosphere more than force ever could. Reading the room builds leadership. Leadership is not only about vision or decision-making, it is about guiding the emotional climate of those you lead. Teams follow not just direction, but energy. They mirror the calm or chaos of their leader. When you master social awareness, you become capable of guiding groups not only through logic, but through presence. You shift fear into courage, disconnection into unity, hesitation into momentum. This is leadership born, not of title, but of emotional intelligence. And beyond leadership, reading the room builds intimacy. When people feel that you understand the spaces they live in, when they feel you notice the unspoken, trust deepens. They realize you are not blind to the hidden currents that shape their lives. They feel safer with you because you see what others overlook. This safety makes connection deeper, bonds stronger, relationships richer. Over time, reading the room becomes second nature. You no longer analyze step by step. You enter a space and feel it instantly, the way a musician feels rhythm or a sailor feels wind. This instinct is trained through presence, sharpened through experience, and strengthened through humility. And once it is yours, every space you enter changes, not because you dominate it, but because you balance it. But the journey does not end with reading the room. Awareness of collective emotion is powerful, but it must be joined with another skill, the ability to express your own emotions in ways that are both honest and balanced. Emotional intelligence is not only about sensing others, it is about sharing yourself with courage and wisdom. That is the next step, where presence deepens into expression. Chapter 6. The courage to express. Emotional intelligence is not only about noticing what you feel or understanding what others carry. It is also about expression, the ability to let emotions move through you without being twisted by fear, shame, or anger. Many people live trapped inside themselves, carrying words they never say, feelings they never show, truths they never release. They smile when they are breaking. They remain silent when their voice is needed. They pretend to be strong while crumbling quietly. This silence does not bring balance, it brings disconnection. Balance requires courage, the courage to express with honesty, clarity, and grace. Expression is not the same as reaction. Reaction is raw, unfiltered, and often destructive. It spills emotions without care for timing, tone, or impact. But expression is deliberate. It is the release of truth in a way that honors both yourself and those who hear it. To express is not to dump emotions on others, but to share them in a way that builds connection rather than breaking it. Emotional intelligence is this art. Not suppressing, not exploding, but expressing with balance. The courage to express begins with honesty toward yourself. You cannot speak what you refuse to acknowledge. If you deny your fear, you cannot express courage. If you deny your sadness, you cannot express healing. If you deny your anger, you cannot express resolution. Expression flows from awareness. It begins in the silence, where you admit, "This is what I feel," and it matters. When you give yourself permission to feel, You give yourself permission to speak. Fear often blocks expression, fear of judgment, fear of rejection, fear of conflict. These fears chain voices, forcing people into silence even when truth burns inside them. But emotional balance is never built on silence that betrays the self. It is built on steady expression, words spoken calmly even when the heart trembles. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is speaking while fear is still present, choosing honesty over comfort, truth over silence. The power of expression lies not only in what you say but in how you say it. Tone carries as much weight as words. A truth, spoken with harshness, wounds. The same truth, spoken with calm, builds understanding. Emotion expressed with blame creates distance. The same emotion expressed with vulnerability creates closeness. The emotionally intelligent person does not only ask, "What am I saying?" They embody, "How am I saying it?" Expression with courage is not only about releasing emotion, but shaping it into connection. Expression is also physical. The body speaks in gestures, posture, and presence. A closed stance hides, an open stance invites. A steady gaze communicates sincerity. A softened voice communicates care. When your body and voice align with your emotions, expression becomes authentic. People feel the congruence. They sense truth, not only in words, but in the way you carry them. Authenticity cannot be faked. When you live in alignment, your expression is believable. Courage to express also means choosing the right time. Not every moment is ready for raw emotion. Wisdom guides courage, teaching you when to speak and when to wait. Emotional intelligence does not mean every feeling must be shared instantly. It means every important feeling deserves expression, but in the right way, at the right time, with the right heart. Expression is powerful when it builds bridges instead of walls. The greatest test of expression is in conflict. It is easy to speak when words will be welcomed. It is harder to express when truth may wound. But balance is found when you express even then, without cruelty, but without compromise. The emotionally intelligent person does not hide from confrontation. They enter it with calm, with honesty, with openness. They express not to defeat the other, but to reveal themselves. This courage transforms conflict from a battlefield into an opportunity for deeper understanding. Expression is not only for others, it is also for yourself. To write down emotions in a journal, to speak them aloud in solitude, to create through art, to release through prayer or meditation. These are acts of expression. They cleanse the heart. They prevent emotions from becoming poison. The person who never expresses eventually breaks. The person who expresses with balance remains whole. Courage in expression is also service. When you share your story, your struggle, your truth, you give others permission to do the same. Silence isolates, but expression connects. The person who admits fear teaches others that fear is survivable. The person who admits failure teaches others that failure is not the end. The person who admits pain teaches others that healing is possible. Your courage becomes their courage. Your honesty becomes their freedom. Over time, the courage to express transforms identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who hides. You stop shrinking in silence. You begin to live openly, to speak steadily, to show truth without shame. This identity strengthens every relationship, every decision, every space you enter. People begin to trust you more deeply because they know your words are real. They know your presence is honest. They know your expression carries truth. The art of expression is not perfection. You will still stumble, still miss the right words, still hesitate. But each time you practice, the fear shrinks and the voice grows steadier. Expression becomes not an act of bravery, but a natural way of being. You no longer ask, "Can I speak?" You live in the certainty, "I will speak, and I will speak with truth." This is the courage to express, not silence, not explosion, but balance. It is the steady release of truth shaped by wisdom, guided by love, and carried with strength. And once you live this courage, you are ready for the next stage. Because emotional intelligence does not end with expression. The next challenge is resilience. The ability to remain balanced when life tests you again and again, when storms return, when challenges press heavily. Expression opens the heart, but resilience keeps it strong. Chapter 7: Resilience in the Face of Struggle. Life will always test emotional balance. No matter how calm, steady, and self-aware you become, storms return. The challenge of emotional intelligence is not to create a life free from pain or disappointment, but to cultivate resilience, the capacity to remain whole even when life breaks around you. Resilience is the muscle that grows when you face adversity and still choose balance. It is what allows you to bend without breaking, to stumble without staying down, to keep moving forward even when everything inside you feels heavy. Resilience is not about denying pain. It is not pretending that hurt does not exist or that setbacks do not matter. It is about facing pain with honesty and then refusing to be defined by it. Many people carry wounds that shape every word, every decision, every relationship. They let betrayal turn them bitter, failure turn them fearful, loss turn them hopeless. Resilience is the opposite. It is allowing pain to teach, not trap. It is saying, this hurt me, but it will not rule me. This broke me, but I will rise again. This storm shook me, but it will not end me. The foundation of resilience lies in perspective. How you see your struggle determines how you move through it. If you see challenges as permanent, you collapse under them. If you see them as temporary, you endure. If you see them as punishments, you resist with anger. If you see them as lessons, you grow. The emotionally intelligent person reframes struggle not as proof of weakness, but as an opportunity for strength. Resilience grows in the soil of meaning, and meaning is something you choose. Resilience also requires self-compassion. Too often, people treat themselves with cruelty when they fall. They blame themselves for not being strong enough, for not avoiding mistakes, for not anticipating loss. But self-condemnation weakens resilience. It adds weight to an already heavy burden. Self-compassion, however, restores strength. It says, I am human. I fell, but I will rise. I hurt, but I will heal. I failed, but I am not finished. This gentle strength fuels recovery. It turns setbacks into stepping stones instead of anchors. Another pillar of resilience is adaptability. Life rarely unfolds according to plan. Paths twist, doors close, storms arrive uninvited. The rigid person breaks under pressure. The flexible person bends and endures. Emotional intelligence allows you to adapt because it keeps you centered even when circumstances shift. You do not cling desperately to what must change. You adjust. You release what cannot be controlled, and you focus on what can. Adaptability is not surrender. It is wisdom. It is the recognition that growth often comes not by resisting change, but by flowing with it. Resilience is also sustained by community. No one endures alone. The strongest people are not those who never need help, but those who know how to reach for it. Emotional intelligence allows you to see the strength in connection, to lean on others without shame, to allow their presence to steady you when your own balance wavers. Sharing struggle does not make you weak, it makes you human. And when you allow yourself to be supported, you find new strength to support others in return. Daily practices build resilience as well. Just as muscles strengthen through consistent training, resilience grows through small acts of discipline. Choosing gratitude, even in difficulty, choosing patience when frustration tempts, choosing courage when fear rises. Each small choice adds to the foundation. Over time, this practice creates a person who does not collapse easily because strength has been layered day after day. Emotional balance becomes second nature, not because life became easier, but because resilience became stronger. Resilience transforms your identity. When you know you can survive storms, fear loses its grip. You stop shrinking from challenges because you trust your ability to endure them. You stop clinging to comfort because you know discomfort does not destroy you. You stop fearing failure because you know it can be faced and overcome. This identity of someone unbreakable, someone steady, changes everything. It changes how you walk into rooms, how you face conflict, how you carry yourself in silence. Confidence built on resilience cannot be shaken, but resilience is not only about personal survival. It is also about service. When you rise after falling, you show others they can rise too. When you endure with dignity, you give others courage to endure. When you speak from scars instead of wounds, your words carry healing for those still bleeding. Resilience becomes not just your strength, but a gift to others. Emotional intelligence transforms personal endurance into collective hope. Resilience in the face of struggle does not mean you will never feel broken. It means you will never stay broken. It means that no matter what storms come, you carry within you the strength to rebuild. Each challenge proves this truth again. Each recovery deepens the conviction. I am not fragile, I am stronger than I believed. And once resilience is rooted in you, once you know that storms do not end you, but shape you, you are ready for the next step. You are ready to explore how emotional intelligence transforms relationships, not just with yourself but with those closest to you. Because balance within is powerful, but balance shared between people is what creates harmony that lasts. Chapter 8. Emotional intelligence in relationships. Emotional balance is never tested more deeply than in relationships. It is in the closeness of family, in the intimacy of love, in the vulnerability of friendship, and in the friction of daily human connection that emotions show their sharpest edges. Alone, it is easier to remain calm, steady, and reflective, but when another person's words, actions, or silence touches our hidden wounds, the storm within rises quickly. Emotional intelligence in relationships is the ability to remain steady while also creating space for others, to hold balance not only for yourself, but for the bond you share. The foundation of emotional intelligence in relationships is self-awareness. If you do not understand your own triggers, your partner, your child, your friend will pay the price. The small remark that reminds you of old wounds, the silence that stirs your insecurity, the disagreement that awakens hidden anger. Without awareness, you react blindly. You snap, withdraw, or shut down, not because of the moment itself, but because of the history it touched. But when you recognize your patterns, you break the cycle. You can pause, breathe, and respond with intention instead of reaction. This awareness protects not only you, but the relationship. Regulation follows awareness. No relationship can survive without it. Two people will always have differences. Words will be misunderstood, moods will clash, expectations will go unmet. If each person reacts instantly, chaos rules. But if one chooses regulation, the storm softens. Anger loses fuel when met with calm. Fear loses grip when met with steadiness. Silence loses distance when met with patience. Regulation in relationships is not weakness, it is wisdom. It is the choice to preserve connection rather than destroy it in the heat of the moment. Empathy is the lifeblood of connection. Without empathy, relationships turn cold, mechanical, and shallow. Empathy does not mean agreeing with everything. It means recognizing the emotion beneath the words. When someone complains, empathy hears the insecurity hidden within. When someone grows distant, empathy sees the hurt beneath the silence. When someone lashes out, empathy notices the fear behind the anger. To respond with empathy is to say, not with words, but with presence, I see you, I understand you, I care for you. That simple recognition builds trust, and trust is the oxygen of relationships. Communication is the bridge where emotional intelligence either thrives or collapses. Many relationships fail, not because love is absent, but because communication is broken. People do not say what they mean, or they say it with sharpness instead of care. They hold silence until resentment hardens. They throw words like stones instead of shaping them into connection. Emotional intelligence transforms communication. It brings clarity instead of confusion, calm instead of chaos, vulnerability instead of defense. It teaches you to express with honesty while honoring the other's heart. This balance keeps the bridge strong. Boundaries are also essential to emotional intelligence in relationships. Without them, balance collapses. Too often, people give until they are empty, or they demand until the other is crushed. Boundaries are not walls. They are lines of respect. They say, "This is what I need to remain whole, and I honor what you need as well." Emotional balance requires this clarity. Without it, resentment grows, love fades, and connection erodes. With it, both people breathe freely, knowing that care is given from strength, not from depletion. Conflict is inevitable in any relationship. Emotional intelligence does not eliminate it, it transforms it. In conflict, the emotionally intelligent person does not fight to win, but to understand. They do not weaponize silence or words. They slow the pace, listen deeper, and search for meaning beneath the surface. Conflict becomes not an ending but a passage, a space where the relationship can grow stronger if navigated with care. When two people face conflict with balance, they discover a new depth of trust. Forgiveness is the healing force that keeps relationships alive. Without forgiveness, wounds remain open, poisoning every interaction. Emotional intelligence teaches forgiveness, not as forgetfulness, but as release. To forgive is not to say the wrong never happened. It is to say, "I choose not to let this define our future." Forgiveness requires strength because it releases the right to hold on to pain. It chooses peace over pride, healing over revenge, connection over separation. This is balance at its highest level. Emotional intelligence in relationships also means presence in the small moments. Grand gestures matter less than daily steadiness, a gentle tone when frustration rises, a patient ear when exhaustion weighs heavy, a smile that softens tension. These small acts accumulate, building a climate of trust. Balance is not proven only in great tests, but in the rhythm of everyday life. Over time, emotional intelligence transforms relationships. It shifts them from fragile to steady, from shallow to deep, from temporary to lasting. People begin to feel safe with you, not because you are perfect, but because you are present, consistent, and compassionate. They know you will not abandon them in storms. They know your balance will hold steady even when theirs wavers. This safety creates bonds that endure, families that remain whole, partnerships that thrive, friendships that last. But relationships are not the final test. Once you learn to balance yourself and connect with others, the challenge expands. Emotional intelligence must also face the pressures of the world, work, leadership, society. To bring balance into larger spaces, you must extend these skills beyond the private into the public. That is where emotional intelligence proves its full power. Chapter 9. Balancing emotion and reason. Every human being lives between two forces, emotion and reason. Emotion moves the heart, drives passion, fuels relationships, and gives life its color. Reason guides the mind, shapes decisions, builds order, and keeps life steady. Alone, each is incomplete. Emotion without reason leads to chaos. Reason without emotion leads to emptiness. The mastery of emotional intelligence lies in the balance between these two powers. It is the art of allowing feeling and logic to work together instead of against each other. Most people fall to one side. Some are ruled by emotion, carried by every wave of feeling. Their decisions shift with their moods. Their relationships strain under unpredictability. Their lives become unstable because every spark of anger or excitement leads to action without thought. Others are ruled by reason, so distant from emotion that they seem cold. They calculate everything, but connection fades. They avoid risk, but joy escapes them. They are safe, but not alive. Balance is not found at either extreme. Balance is found where heart and mind walk together. This balance begins with awareness. To balance emotion and reason, you must notice which one is leading you. When anger rises, do you pause to think, or do you explode? When fear whispers, do you let it silence opportunity, or do you weigh the facts before deciding? When joy surges, do you leap without thought, or do you consider whether the leap is wise? Awareness reveals the truth. Sometimes your heart needs guidance from the mind, and sometimes your mind needs fire from the heart. The emotionally intelligent person does not silence emotion. They honor it. Emotions carry messages. Fear warns of danger. Anger signals boundaries crossed. Sadness reveals loss. Joy points to meaning. But the balanced person does not obey these messages blindly. They listen, then measure them with reason. They ask not with words but with presence. Does this emotion serve me, or must I guide it differently? In this pause, balance is born. Reason, too, has its limits. Pure logic often misses humanity. A decision that looks perfect on paper may wound the heart. A path that seems efficient may crush the spirit. Balance requires allowing reason to consult emotion. It means asking not only what makes sense, but also what feels right. It means letting compassion shape justice, letting empathy shape leadership, letting love shape discipline. When reason listens to emotion, decisions become not only correct but meaningful. The dance between emotion and reason is most visible in conflict. Emotion alone turns arguments into battles of rage. Reason alone turns them into cold negotiations with no healing. Balance allows both. It allows you to express your feelings with honesty while grounding them in clarity. It allows you to listen with empathy while still holding to truth. Conflict resolved in balance does not leave wounds. It builds respect. People feel both heard and guided, both understood and anchored. Balance also shapes ambition. Emotion provides the drive to pursue dreams, to take risks, to endure struggle. Reason provides the discipline to plan, to pace, to sustain effort. Dreams without reason collapse. Plans without passion fade. But together they create a force unstoppable. The emotionally intelligent person learns to let their dreams be fueled by heart, but steered by mind. Passion becomes purpose when balanced by wisdom. Daily life constantly calls for this balance. In work, decisions require logic, but also vision. In family, love requires feeling, but also patience. In friendships, loyalty requires emotion, but also boundaries. Every space of life demands the ability to weave heart and mind together. Those who live only in reason often regret what they never risked. Those who live only in emotion often regret what they rushed into. Balance removes both regrets. It allows you to live fully and wisely at the same time. Balancing emotion and reason also requires humility. You will not always get it right. Sometimes you will speak too quickly. Sometimes you will overthink and miss the moment. But each mistake teaches. Each imbalance reveals where strength must grow. Over time, the scale steadies. You begin to trust your ability to pause, to measure, to choose not just with one part of yourself, but with all of yourself. This trust builds confidence, and confidence builds freedom. The gift of balance is harmony. When emotion and reason align, life feels smoother. Choices feel lighter. Relationships feel clearer. You no longer feel torn between what you feel and what you think. You live with unity inside, and that unity spreads outside. People sense your steadiness. They trust your decisions. They feel safe in your presence because they know you are neither reckless nor rigid. You are balanced, and this harmony prepares you for the next step. Because emotional intelligence is not only about guiding yourself or balancing within, it is about using that balance to inspire others, to influence their emotional worlds, to bring steadiness into environments that desperately need it. Once you master the balance of emotion and reason, you are ready to step into the higher calling of emotional leadership, where your balance becomes a source of strength for many. Confidence in speaking is not only about being heard, it is about being remembered. Words that are clear, strong, and steady may reach the ear, but they will not stay unless they reach the heart. The greatest speakers are not only masters of rhythm, presence, and clarity, they are masters of connection. They know how to bind their voice to the emotions of others. They know how to transform their message into something felt. This is the difference between being listened to for a moment and being carried within someone for a lifetime. Chapter 10. Leading with Emotional Intelligence. True leadership is not measured by titles, authority, or position. It is measured by influence. And influence is never built on fear or force. It is built on emotional intelligence. The greatest leaders in history did not hold people together only with strategy or rules. They held people through presence, through steadiness, through the way they made others feel safe, seen, and inspired. Emotional balance becomes leadership when it moves beyond the self and begins to shape the hearts and minds of others. Leadership begins with presence. The leader who enters a room heavy with tension must know how to steady it. The leader who faces a group weary from struggle must know how to lift it. The leader who guides through uncertainty must know how to project calm, even while storms rage inside. People do not only listen to the words of leaders, they absorb their energy. A balanced leader carries an atmosphere with them, and that atmosphere often matters more than instructions. Emotional intelligence in leadership means knowing yourself so well that others can trust you. It means you are not carried away by anger in meetings, not frozen by fear in crisis, not blinded by ego when challenged. People follow leaders whose emotions do not shift wildly, whose responses are not unpredictable, whose words remain steady even when the world does not. Balance builds trust, and trust builds loyalty. But leadership is not only steadiness, it is also connection. A leader with emotional intelligence feels the pulse of the group. They read the collective energy, notice who is discouraged, who is motivated, who is quietly struggling. They know how to respond, how to draw strength from those ready to give it, how to restore strength to those who have lost it. Emotional leadership is not treating everyone the same. It is meeting each person where they are, while guiding them toward a shared vision. Vision itself requires emotional intelligence. Logic alone can create plans, but vision is what inspires. A true vision stirs emotion, ignites imagination, and makes people willing to endure hardship for something greater. A leader who speaks only to reason may convince minds, but a leader who speaks to both reason and emotion moves hearts. And when hearts move, people give more than compliance. They give commitment. Emotional balance also gives leaders resilience in the face of conflict. Every leader faces criticism, opposition, and misunderstanding. Without emotional intelligence, criticism turns to defensiveness, opposition turns to anger, misunderstanding turns to isolation. But with emotional intelligence, criticism becomes feedback, opposition becomes perspective, misunderstanding becomes opportunity for clarity. The emotionally intelligent leader does not collapse under conflict. They use it to grow, to strengthen connection, to refine vision. Leadership with emotional intelligence requires vulnerability. Many believe leaders must always appear flawless, but perfection isolates. People follow those they can trust, and trust is built on humanity. When a leader admits mistakes, when they share struggles, when they show that they too are learning, people connect. Vulnerability in balance does not weaken authority, it strengthens it, because it builds authenticity. The emotionally intelligent leader also knows how to regulate their own ambition. Ambition is fire. Left unchecked, it consumes. Guided with balance, it builds. Leaders who chase results at any cost burn people out, break trust, and destroy culture. But leaders who balance ambition with empathy, drive with compassion, urgency with patience create environments where people thrive. Emotional intelligence allows leaders to push without crushing, to demand excellence without demanding perfection, to pursue vision without losing humanity. Daily leadership moments reveal emotional intelligence most clearly. The way a leader responds to a late mistake, the way they listen to a frustrated team member, the way they encourage someone overlooked. These moments may seem small, but they build the emotional culture of a group. People remember how they were treated in these moments long after they forget big speeches or strategies. Emotional leadership is not an occasional act, it is a daily presence. The legacy of leadership lies not in what is achieved, but in what is built inside people. Structures crumble, projects end, numbers fade, but the emotional imprint of a leader lasts. People remember the leader who gave them courage when they doubted themselves, who steadied them when fear rose, who inspired them when hope was dim. This legacy cannot be faked. It is built through consistent emotional balance, lived out in real moments. Leading with emotional intelligence is not only for those with titles. Every person leads somewhere, in a family, in a friendship, in a workplace, in a community. Wherever others look to you, your emotional balance becomes leadership. You may never call yourself a leader, but your presence shapes those around you, and when your presence is steady, compassionate, resilient, and inspiring, you lead whether you intend to or not. This is the essence of leadership with emotional intelligence, not power over others, but power with others. Not domination, but guidance. Not performance, but presence. When you embody this, your influence grows beyond words, beyond time, beyond circumstance. You do not only lead tasks, you lead hearts. You do not only create results, you create trust. You do not only leave footprints, you leave strength in the lives you touch. And once you reach this level, you are ready for what comes next. Because leadership with emotional intelligence is not only about guiding others, it is about sustaining yourself as you guide them. It is about avoiding the burnout that often destroys leaders, learning to recharge, to restore, to remain balanced, even when responsibility is heavy. That is the next chapter, where emotional intelligence meets endurance, and balance becomes not only influence, but survival. Chapter 11. Sustaining balance in a demanding world. Life in the modern world is relentless. Responsibilities multiply, deadlines tighten, relationships require energy, and unexpected challenges arrive without warning. In such an environment, emotional balance is not something you achieve once and hold forever. It is something you must sustain daily, a rhythm you return to again and again. Without this ability, even the most emotionally intelligent person burns out, losing the calm they once fought so hard to build. Sustaining balance is the art of endurance, the skill of remaining steady, not for a moment but for a lifetime. The first truth about sustaining balance is that it requires rest. The world glorifies constant motion, endless productivity, and tireless effort, but no one can run forever. The mind and body demand renewal. Without rest, emotions fray, patience evaporates, and resilience collapses. Rest is not weakness, it is maintenance. It is how you restore the energy needed to remain steady in storms. Balance requires pauses, just as music requires silence between notes. The emotionally intelligent person learns to guard these pauses fiercely, to honor them as part of strength rather than absence of it. Sustaining balance also requires boundaries. Emotional chaos often comes not from what life demands, but from what we allow without limit. When every request is accepted, when every demand is answered, when every voice is given equal weight, balance is impossible. Boundaries are the lines that protect peace. They are the choices to say yes where it matters and no where it doesn't. Without boundaries, even the strongest person becomes exhausted, drained by trying to be everything for everyone. Emotional intelligence teaches you to give fully without giving yourself away. Another pillar of sustained balance is routine. Chaos thrives in unpredictability. But when life has rhythm, balance becomes easier to hold. Simple routines, moments of stillness in the morning, regular time for reflection, consistent practices of gratitude or breathing create anchors. These anchors steady you when everything else shifts. Routine is not prison, it is foundation. It ensures that even in busy seasons, you return to practices that refill strength instead of draining it. Sustaining balance also depends on awareness of energy. Every person carries a limited amount of emotional energy each day. Where you invest it determines your state. If you pour energy into constant negativity, endless arguments, or environments that drain, balance disappears. But if you direct energy toward what nourishes uplifting conversations, meaningful work, time in silence, connection with those who restore you, protect your balance. Emotional intelligence is the wisdom to notice where your energy goes and the discipline to redirect it when needed. Relationships play a vital role in sustaining balance. You cannot carry life alone. You need people who steady you, who remind you of your strength, who call you back when you drift. Isolation breeds imbalance. Community sustains it. Surrounding yourself with people who live with calm, who value peace, who lift rather than drain, is not luxury, it is necessity. The emotionally intelligent person chooses carefully who they allow to influence their emotional climate, because they know balance is contagious, just as chaos is. Another element of sustaining balance is acceptance. Much imbalance comes from fighting what cannot be controlled. Traffic, weather, other people's behavior, unexpected obstacles, all of these lie outside your hands. To resist them endlessly is to waste energy. Acceptance does not mean passivity. It means releasing what is beyond your reach so that you can focus on what is within it. Acceptance brings freedom. It creates space for calm, even in chaos. Sustaining balance also demands alignment with purpose. Without purpose, effort feels heavy. Every day becomes a grind, every task a burden. But with purpose, even struggle gains meaning. Emotional intelligence helps you connect with why you do what you do, reminding you that balance is not just about surviving the day, but about moving toward something greater. Purpose fuels resilience. It reminds you that storms are part of the journey, not the end of it. Physical health supports emotional balance as well. The body and mind are not separate. Poor sleep, poor nutrition, lack of movement, all weaken emotional strength. A tired body cannot carry steady emotions. A neglected body cannot sustain patience. Caring for your physical self is not vanity. It is foundation. Balance cannot stand on a weak frame. It demands integration. Mind, body, and spirit aligned. Sustaining balance also means practicing gratitude. Gratitude shifts focus from what is missing to what is present, from what hurts to what heals. A grateful heart remains steady because it finds light even in darkness. It does not deny pain, but it refuses to let pain erase goodness. Gratitude is balance made visible. It transforms perspective, softens struggle, and sustains peace even in the harshest seasons. The final truth about sustaining balance is that it is never finished. It is a practice, not a destination. You will falter. You will lose patience. You will let storms overwhelm you. But each time you return, each time you rebuild, each time you grow stronger. Sustaining balance is the commitment to return again and again, no matter how often life pulls you off center. It is the resilience of practice, the discipline of presence, the promise you make to yourself to never give up on calm. And once you understand how to sustain balance within yourself, you are ready for the next level. You are ready to extend this strength outward, not only protecting your own peace, but becoming a source of balance for others, shaping families, friendships, and communities with the steadiness you carry. Chapter 12. Becoming a source of calm for others. The highest level of emotional intelligence is not simply maintaining your own balance, but becoming a source of balance for others. When you reach this stage, your presence itself becomes influence. People feel different when you walk into a room. They breathe easier, they speak softer, they find courage they did not know they carried. You have mastered your inner world to such an extent that it begins to shape the worlds of those around you. This is the art of becoming a living anchor in a restless sea. People everywhere are searching for stability. They are tired of noise, tired of pressure, tired of carrying hidden storms inside them. Most do not even know what calm feels like anymore. They live in constant reaction, moving from one frustration to another, one conflict to another, one demand to another. When they meet someone who is steady, someone who is not easily shaken, someone who carries peace in their eyes and patience in their tone, it changes them. They feel safe, they feel respected, they feel seen. Emotional intelligence at its highest becomes service. It gives people the gift of calm they cannot find alone. Becoming this kind of person begins with consistency. People will not trust your calm if it appears one day and vanishes the next. They need to feel your steadiness repeatedly, in different situations, under pressure and in ease. Each time you remain balanced when others expect you to break, you prove yourself. Each time you choose patience instead of anger, listening instead of dismissing, presence instead of withdrawal, you earn trust. Over time, your steadiness becomes predictable, and predictability becomes comfort. People know what to expect from you. Balance. Your calm must also be genuine. Pretending to be calm while boiling inside does not fool others for long. They sense the mask, and it creates distrust. True calm comes not from suppressing emotions, but from regulating them, understanding them, guiding them until peace becomes natural. When you embody real calm, people feel it in your voice, in your body language, in your presence. It cannot be faked. It can only be lived. Being a source of calm means learning to absorb tension without reflecting it back. In arguments, most people mirror the energy given to them. Anger met with anger, impatience met with impatience. But the balanced person interrupts the cycle. They let others vent without taking it personally. They listen without reacting defensively. They acknowledge pain without losing their own steadiness. In doing so, they transform the moment. The fire burns out because it has nothing to ignite. Calm disarms chaos, not through power but through patience. This ability extends to leadership. Teams collapse under leaders who spread fear, pressure, and instability. They thrive under leaders who provide steady guidance, even in crisis. A leader who carries calm can walk into a failing project, a tense negotiation, a chaotic room, and shift the entire atmosphere without raising their voice. Their presence alone becomes strategy. People rally not because of commands, but because of the peace that surrounds them. Calm becomes contagious. In families, being the source of calm can transform relationships. Children absorb the emotional climate of their parents. Partners mirror each other's states. When one person chooses to be steady, the entire home begins to steady. Instead of cycles of shouting and silence, cycles of listening and understanding grow. Calm becomes culture. The emotionally intelligent person understands that their balance is not private. It is shared. What they bring into the room becomes what the room becomes. But becoming a source of calm does not mean being passive. Calm is not silence in the face of injustice. Calm is not apathy when action is required. Calm is strength under control. A fire that burns without consuming. A presence that stands firm without aggression. It means you can speak truth without shouting, confront wrong without cruelty, guide others without force. Calm is active, it leads, it builds, it heals. The true test of being a source of calm comes when others expect you to break, when accusations fly, when tempers flare, when circumstances spiral out of control. These are the moments where people look at you. Will you join the storm or remain steady? The emotionally intelligent person knows these are the defining moments. They choose steadiness, not only for themselves, but for everyone watching. By holding calm, they hold space for others to return to balance too. To become this kind of person, you must practice daily. Each conversation is training. Each frustration is practice. Each challenge is rehearsal. Every time you regulate your tone, every time you pause before reacting, every time you breathe through tension, you strengthen your ability to remain calm. Over time, it becomes identity. You no longer try to project calm, you are calm. It becomes who you are, and who you are shapes everyone around you. The gift of becoming a source of calm is that it creates ripple effects far beyond what you see. A single calm word spoken at the right time may prevent a conflict that could have destroyed a relationship. A single calm presence in a crisis may give someone the courage to keep going. A single moment of patience may teach a child how to handle storms for the rest of their life. You may never see all the impact, but the impact is real. Calm is never wasted. This is the culmination of emotional intelligence, moving from self-mastery to shared influence, from personal balance to collective transformation. When you embody this state, you stop asking, "How do I keep myself steady?" and begin asking, "How can my steadiness help others?" It is no longer about protecting your own peace, but about becoming a lighthouse for those who are lost. And once you reach this point, one more step remains. You must learn how to turn this presence into legacy, how to live so fully in balance that it becomes not just your practice, but your gift to future generations. That is the final chapter, where emotional intelligence becomes more than a skill and rises into a way of life that endures beyond you. Chapter 13. Living emotional intelligence as a way of life. The journey of emotional intelligence does not end with awareness, regulation, empathy, resilience, or leadership. These are not separate tools you pick up when needed and put away when life quiets down. True mastery comes when emotional intelligence ceases to be something you do and becomes something you are. It becomes woven into every breath, every word, every relationship, every moment. It stops being a practice you turn to in storms and becomes the very ground you stand on in all seasons. This is when emotional balance becomes not an act, but a way of life. Living emotional intelligence means carrying balance wherever you go. It means your peace is not dependent on perfect circumstances, but on your steady center. Traffic may snarl, deadlines may loom, conflict may rise, but you are not thrown off course. You breathe, you ground yourself, you choose presence. Others may rush, others may explode, others may withdraw, but you remain. You do not mirror chaos. You anchor it. Balance is no longer a task you struggle to hold. It is who you are. This way of life is built on daily choice. Emotional intelligence is not achieved in one great moment of revelation. It is practiced again and again in small decisions. The decision to pause instead of react, the decision to listen instead of dismiss, the decision to express instead of suppress, the decision to forgive instead of resent. Each choice seems small, but each choice builds the person you are becoming. Over time, these choices form identity. You stop practicing balance, you live it. When emotional intelligence becomes your way of life, you move differently through the world. Your relationships deepen because people trust your steadiness. Your work thrives because you bring clarity instead of confusion. Your community strengthens because you bring connection instead of division. You no longer ask, "How do I handle this one moment?" You live in a constant state of readiness, steady no matter what comes. Life does not need to be easier because you have become stronger. Living this way also means transforming the meaning of success. Many measure success in wealth, status, or recognition. But emotional intelligence teaches you that true success is peace. It is the ability to lie down at night without regret, to look in the mirror without shame, to face others without pretense. Success is carrying balance in a world that thrives on imbalance, keeping your center in a culture that constantly pulls people off center. When you live this truth, You discover a wealth greater than anything material, the wealth of a steady soul. This state of living also creates legacy. Emotional balance is contagious. The way you carry yourself teaches others more than any words could. Children learn calm not because they are told to, but because they see it modeled. Partners grow stronger. Not because they are lectured, but because they feel steadiness at home. Communities shift, not because of commands, but because of examples. By living emotional intelligence as a way of life, you plant seeds of balance in everyone you meet. Long after your words are forgotten, your presence remains. Living in this way does not mean perfection. Storms will still come, pain will still sting. Doubt will still whisper, but emotional intelligence changes your response. You may feel shaken, but you do not collapse. You may feel fear, but you do not retreat. You may feel anger, but you do not destroy. Balance does not remove struggle. It transforms it. It teaches you to bend instead of break, to learn instead of resist, to rise instead of remain fallen. This is what makes emotional intelligence not only practical but powerful. When emotional intelligence is your way of life, you stop separating inner and outer. Your inner calm naturally shapes your outer world. Your inner resilience naturally fuels your outer strength. Your inner empathy naturally deepens your outer relationships. You become seamless. You no longer act one way inside and another way outside. Your whole self aligns. This alignment is freedom. It is integrity. It is the truest expression of emotional intelligence, and the reward of this way of life is joy. Not fleeting joy that depends on events or people, but a steady joy that flows from within. Joy that comes from knowing you are no longer a prisoner of reaction, no longer a slave to chaos, no longer at the mercy of storms. Joy that comes from knowing you carry balance within you, and nothing outside can take it away. This joy is the deepest gift emotional intelligence gives. It is not loud, not dramatic, but profound and unshakable. This is the final transformation. Emotional intelligence is no longer a skill you try to remember or a practice you sometimes use. It is who you are. It is the way you breathe, the way you walk, the way you live. You are no longer searching for calm. You are calm. You are no longer chasing balance. You embody balance. You are no longer trying to master emotions. You live as their master, guiding them, shaping them, using them to build a life of meaning. And this is the call. As this journey ends, live it. Do not let emotional intelligence remain only as knowledge in your mind. Let it become the rhythm of your days. Let it shape the way you love, the way you lead, the way you endure, the way you rise. Carry balance into every space, every conversation, every moment. Become the anchor the world so desperately needs. Because in the end, emotional intelligence is not only about you. It is about the lives you touch, the hearts you steady, the storms you calm without even knowing. When you live this way, you leave behind more than words or achievements. You leave behind a presence, a legacy of balance, a light in the darkness. And that is the true art of emotional intelligence, to master the balance within so deeply that it transforms the world without.